It is a super clean look at cover four from the Packers. First, we can see the four DBs playing reasonably flat along the back end. The corners at about 8 yards off. Definitely looks like a cover four look. In cover four, when we have extended receivers here, meaning guys who are not attacked like this tight end, we should see the corners playing about 8 yards off, slightly inside leverage, which sees the safeties normally about 8 to 10 yards. The Packers are a little bit deeper here, but playing slightly inside leverage because they know they don't have any inside help versus post or anything. Corner on this side, slightly inside leverage. You see the safety playing pretty much head up on the tight end. Those are pretty normal cover four alignments. We can see the overhang playing outside leverage on two. That's much more common in cover four than it would be in cover two, because obviously in cover two, the corner's down on the flat, so the overhang wouldn't be outside of number two. In this case, he would be. And then we see the will extended over to the tight end. Pretty straightforward look at cover four right now. One thing that's worth noting right here, well, let's just get a couple snaps in. One, we can clearly see each guy playing their quarter of the field. Now, there's a ton of different variations to cover four. We could do hours and hours of videos just on cover four. The part that's worth noting on this is you can see clearly that each DB is responsible for their quarter because they are getting potential vertical releases from the receiver directly in front of them, right? He is getting a vertical release from one. He is getting a vertical release from two. He is getting a vertical release from two. He is getting a vertical release from one. So all four of the DBs have to respect the vertical release from their immediate threat, right? So you can see them each eyeballing that. And a lot of times cover four kind of bridges the gap between man and zone, because if that guy runs straight at him, it essentially in many cases is going to turn into man coverage. You can see that in cover four a little bit here. When you watch these two corners, they actually man turn to their defender. See how they turn their backs to the inside of the field and they turn outwards towards the receiver? Ordinarily, that's called a man turn, but they're doing it in a zone coverage, right? They're playing cover four, but they're man turning because the moment they get a vertical release from one, based on the way the Packers were playing cover four, they're locked, right? We say that calling having all of, right? They've got all of number one vertical right now. Number one's run vertical. That's all theirs. They want to wedge him into the sideline. They also recognize that, let's say this guy runs a post, right? The safety's got to run with that at this point, because if he runs a corner and he runs a deep out, we can see everyone's kind of magnetizing to their guys. They have all of whatever their receiver does past a certain yardage, right? Cover four is going to, in most modern cases of cover four, kind of divulge into man coverage as the play goes on. So if this guy were to run a post, this guy would have to follow it, meaning the corner has no inside help, which is why he's going to man turn and try to use the sideline as his friend right now. Okay, now we also know this is not a read style of cover four because the overhang is impeding the release of number two. Some forms of cover four, the corner and the safety are both going to read number two, and they're going to establish their roles based off the release of number two. In the case that we're jamming him, in this case, impeding the vertical release of number two, that means the safety is really working in conjunction with the overhang, and the corner is locked on any vertical releases from one. Okay, so it's not necessarily a read style cover four. This is more of a lock style cover four. Okay, the next thing we notice now is that if it's a lock style cover four, that means the Mike has got to, at least initially, match the back because he's the number three. And so that's what he does. He stays in the protection. He ends up becoming presence in the hole right here. But that would be kind of the normal rule in cover four, that the Mike has got to help on number three, who in this case is the back. Okay. But yeah, kind of a basic look at cover four here. Matches the modern cover four. You'll see this safety right now. Watch how he doesn't really backpedal. He kind of patters inside. You can tell he has no responsibility on number one. If number one runs a post, he is not helping on that. He's got nothing. He's got no part of that. He has got a vertical release from two. That is his. Okay. So in most forms of quarters where they're going to match vertical releases, you realize that vertically defenders really have very little to no help. When I put these posts up on Instagram and everyone says, well, if this guy runs a post, this safety would be covering that because that's his quarter. That's not really the way it works in quarters, right? And you can see it right here that this guy has got no responsibility on post from him. He does not care. He is not eyeballing that. He is turning to number two. We can also see here, same deal. His eyes are here. If this guy runs post, that is not his. He is not responsible for that. You can see right now, he's driving on an in-breaking route. He is trying to drive on that. So that's a good look at a modern cover four, and that's about as clean a rep as we're going to get in kind of a lock style quarters look, that from modern day football, so to speak.